So here's the thing about the Galactic Survival Initiative. It's basically the universe's way of proving which species has the best chance of not dying horribly when things go sideways. Think of it as a cosmic insurance assessment, except instead of filling out forms, you get dropped into a nightmare ecosystem and hope you live long enough to file a complaint, which brings us to Marcus Webb, human xenobiologist, and according to his personnel file, a persistent disciplinary concern with authority issues. Marcus preferred the term creatively independent, but nobody asked him. He stood in the briefing room of the GSI orbital station, surrounded by representatives from 47 different species, all of whom looked like they were attending their own funeral. To be fair, statistically speaking, 12 of them were. At the front of the room, Commander Threll, a 7-foot-tall reptilian with scales like polished obsidian and exactly zero sense of humor, cycled through holographic images of Verdathix Prime. Each image was more horrifying than the last. This, Threll announced with the enthusiasm of someone reading a tax code, is a Class 9 death world. Atmospheric toxicity, moderate, predator density, extreme. Survival rate for previous trials, 4%. A gelatinous blob, 2 seats down from Marcus, made a sound like a deflating whoopee cushion, possibly sobbing, hard to tell, with blobs. Your task is simple, Threll continued. Survive 72 hours. You may bring 1 standard equipment pack. You may not bring weapons, communication devices, or protective gear beyond basic clothing. Questions? Marcus raised his hand. Threll's inner eyelids closed briefly, a reptilian eye roll. Yes, Specialist Webb. Yeah, quick question. When you say survival rate of 4%, does that mean 4% survived or 4% were recovered in identifiable pieces? Just want to manage my expectations here. Several species made alarm noises. One insectoid individual's antennae drooped so dramatically it looked like it might pass out. Threll's jaw tightened. 4% survived. The rest are listed as casualties. Are there any serious questions? Oh, that was serious, Marcus said cheerfully. I'm absolutely taking this seriously. I'm just also taking it with a sense of humor because otherwise I'd be like Blobby over there, who I'm pretty sure is having an existential crisis. The blob made another sad, deflating sound. Threll clicked to the next image. A creature that looked like a spider had angry relations with a scorpion. And then that offspring got really into bodybuilding. The primary threat is the venom stalker, 8 legs, neurotoxic bite. Capable of taking down prey 5 times its size. Highly aggressive, highly territorial, highly lethal, highly inconvenient, Marcus added helpfully. You will be dropped at dawn, Threll said, ignoring him. Extraction will occur in 72 hours at the same coordinates if you are still alive, which again is statistically unlikely, he paused. Especially for humans. Your species has never attempted this trial. Your mortality probability is estimated at 97.3%. Marcus grinned. So you're saying there's a chance. Threll looked like he wanted to throw Marcus out of an airlock. Dismissed? May your deities have mercy on your fragile biological forms. As the room emptied, the species practically trampling each other to get to the door, Marcus lingered. He studied the hologram of Verdathix Prime rotating slowly in the air. Dense jungle canopy, bioluminescent flora, things moving in the shadows that definitely had too many teeth. Beautiful, he muttered. Absolutely going to try to pet something I shouldn't. Behind him, Threll's claws clicked against the podium. Specialist Webb, word. Marcus turned. Commander Tall, Dark, and Scaly, what can I do for you? I am formally advising you to withdraw from this trial, Threll said flatly. Humans are not equipped for this environment. You lack natural armor. Your reaction time is poor. Your sensory capabilities are limited. You are by all measurable standards inadequate. Wow, really feeling the motivational energy here. This is not motivation, this is reality. Threll leaned forward. I have overseen 42 trials. I've seen species far more capable than yours fail catastrophically. I do not wish to file paperwork explaining how a human died within the first hour. Marcus smiled. It was the kind of smile that had gotten him kicked out of 3 research stations and 1 diplomatic reception. Commander, here's what you don't understand about humans. We're not the strongest. We're not the fastest. But we are, without question, the stubbornest. Also, he picked up his equipment pack. We have a really weird talent for making friends with things that want to kill us. It's like our species' superpower. Threll's expression suggested he thought Marcus's superpower was being insufferable. "See you in 72 hours, Marcus said, heading for the door. "Try not to look so disappointed when I survive." As the door closed behind him, Threll looked at the hologram of Verdathix Prime, then at Marcus's file on his datapad, then back at the planet. 97.3%, he muttered to himself. Please let it be quick. Dawn on Verdathix Prime looked like someone had taken a regular jungle, cranked the saturation to maximum, and then added a horror movie filter. Everything glowed faintly. The moss, the flowers, even some of the trees pulsed with bioluminescent veins like the planet had a cardiovascular system and questionable circulation. Marcus materialized at the drop point in a shimmer of teleportation energy, stumbled slightly, and immediately started sweating. The humidity was approximately inside a dragon's mouth level. "Okay," he said to nobody, because talking to yourself in a death jungle is perfectly reasonable behavior. Step 1, don't die. Step 2, make Commander Grumpy Scales regret doubting humanity. Step 3, see if anything here is Urianly. He'd barely made it 20 feet into the underbrush when his communication badge, which was technically against the rules but was just for monitoring, not for calling for help, crackled to life. Contestant 732 has requested emergency extraction, a bored voice announced. Time survived? 4 minutes? 4 minutes? Marcus laughed, but he didn't even give it a shot. Contestant 419 has requested emergency extraction. Time survived. 8 minutes? Okay, now people are just being dramatic. Marcus pushed through a curtain of hanging vines that definitely looked like they might strangle him, but turned out to just be regular vines. Progress. He was consulting his scanner, which could identify biological threats but not do anything useful about them, when it started screaming, not beeping. Screaming, the readout flashed. Threat level extreme. Venom stalker, 12 meters, approaching fast. "Ah," Marcus said calmly. "There it is. The thing that emerged from the shadows was worse than the hologram suggested. 8 legs, yes, but each one ended in what looked like serrated bone hooks. Its body was segmented chitin, black and glistening, and its face, if you could call it that, had too many eyes and mandibles that clicked together with a sound like knives sharpening. It was, objectively speaking, the stuff of nightmares. Most species would run, some would fight, a few would freeze, and hope it lost interest." Marcus pulled a protein bar from his pack. "Hey there, buddy," he said, in the same tone you'd use with a nervous dog. "You look hungry." Also terrifying, mostly terrifying, but maybe also hungry? The venom stalker stopped. Its multiple eyes focused on Marcus with what could only be described as confused predatory intent. Back on the orbital station, Commander Threll was watching the monitor feed with several other officials. One of them, a floating jellyfish creature named Administrator Quellix, made a sound like bubbles popping. Is the human offering it food? "That appears to be what's happening," Threll said slowly. "That's not how predators work." "I am aware." On the screen, Marcus unwrapped the protein bar. "Look, I know your instinct is to bite me and watch me convulse. I get it. It's your whole thing. But consider this alternative. Snack first, murder second. We can reassess after you've had some calories." He tossed the bar toward the stalker. 8 legs carried it forward in a skittering rush that made Threll's scales ripple with instinctive alarm. But instead of lunging at Marcus, the creature stopped at the protein bar, sniffed it. The mandibles opened, and it ate the bar, wrapper and all. "What?" said Quellix. "I don't," said Threll. "How added a third observer?" Marcus took a slow step forward. "Good, right? That's Terran chocolate peanut blend. We put way too much sugar in everything. It's terrible for us, but it tastes amazing." Another step. "You seem tense." Probably because everything in this jungle wants to eat everything else. Rough neighborhood, I respect that. The stalker tilted its head, or body segment, or whatever, tracking Marcus's movement. Here's the thing, Marcus continued, pulling out another protein bar. I've studied predators across 40 systems. You know what they all have in common? They're practical. Why waste energy hunting when food just walks up and introduces itself? Efficiency, that's what I'm offering. Efficiency and snacks. He tossed the second bar. The stalker caught it with one leg, mandibles clicking in what might have been satisfaction. Contestant 228 has requested emergency extraction, the comm announced. Time survived, 15 minutes, caused psychological distress. Marcus slowly sat down on a fallen log, maintaining eye contact with the stalker. Well, maintaining eye contact with several of its eyes. The others were probably looking at different things. Hard to tell. You can still eat me if you want, Marcus said conversationally. But I've got 6 more of these bars, and I'm guessing whatever you usually hunt puts up more of a fight than I would, so mathematically I'm the better option. Less effort, same calories. Way more charisma. The stalker moved closer, close enough that Marcus could see the venom glands pulsing under its carapace. On the station, Threll leaned forward. He's dead. But Marcus just extended his hand slowly. Easy, easy, just saying hello. Humans do this thing called petting. It's weird, but it works on like 80% of predators we've met. His hand made contact with the stalker's front segment. The creature froze. Marcus scratched gently the way you might scratch a dog's ears. The stalker's legs relaxed. Its mandibles stopped clicking, and then, impossibly, it leaned into the touch. Are you kidding me? Threll said to the screen. Administrator, Quellix bubbled nervously. I think the human just domesticated a venom stalker. In 20 minutes, someone else added. That's not possible. On Verdatix Prime, Marcus grinned as the 8-legged nightmare creature settled down beside him like an oversized, horrifying puppy. "Gonna call you Kevin," Marcus said. You look like a Kevin. Welcome to the team, buddy." Kevin, the venom stalker, made a sound like grinding metal, which Marcus chose to interpret as approval. Contestant 557 has requested emergency extraction. Time survived, 32 minutes. Marcus stood up, brushing dirt off his pants. Kevin stood with him, 8 legs moving in synchronized coordination. All right, Kevin, we've got 71.5 hours to kill. Want to go make Commander Threll question his entire understanding of xenobiology? Kevin clicked his mandibles. I'll take that as a yes. By hour 6, Marcus had accomplished several things. First, he'd found a decent water source that only had a moderate amount of flesh-eating bacteria. Second, he'd fashioned a surprisingly effective leash out of vines and some flexible bark strips. Third, he taught Kevin to play fetch, which was arguably the most disturbing achievement, because Kevin fetched things by impaling them on his leg hooks and bringing back corpses. Okay, so we need to work on your understanding of the game, Marcus said, examining the deceased rodent analog that Kevin had just deposited at his feet. When I throw the stick, you bring back the stick, not dinner, although I appreciate the thought. Kevin's mandibles clicked, and what Marcus had learned meant either satisfaction, hunger, or murderous intent. The fact that he couldn't tell the difference was probably concerning. Contestant 881 has requested emergency extraction, the Coam droned. Time survived, 5 hours, 40 minutes. Cause razoring encounter. Marcus looked up. Razor wings, those the flying things with the teeth? Kevin's entire body went rigid. Every eye focused upward. A low grinding sound emanated from somewhere in his thorax. I'm going to take that as a yes, and also that you have opinions about razor wings. The scanner started its screaming routine again. Marcus checked it. Threat level extreme. Razorwing swarm. 30-plus contacts directly above. Well, Marcus said, this is less than ideal. The canopy erupted with movement. Shapes burst through the glowing foliage. Creatures that looked like someone had crossed a bat with a piranha and then made the horrifying decision to add serrated wing blades. They moved in coordinated formation, their shrieks harmonizing into a sound that Marcus's ancestors would have called the Song of Death, and that Marcus called extremely rude. The swarm descended like a nightmare, made of knives and hunger. Kevin moved faster than Marcus thought possible. 1 second, the stalker was standing beside him. The next, he was launching himself upward with those 8 powerful legs, mandibles wide, venom glands visibly pulsing. What followed was less a fight and more a mid-air ballet of violence. Kevin caught the first razor wing in his mandibles, venom injecting instantly. The creature seized and fell. The second one got impaled on a leg hook. The third through seventh got caught in what could only be described as a spinning attack that no creature with 8 legs should be capable of. Marcus watched with the detached fascination of a scientist and the inappropriate pride of a pet owner. "That's my boy," he muttered. "Murder them with extreme prejudice." On the orbital station, the observation room had gained an audience. Word had spread that the human was not only still alive, but was now apparently commanding a venom stalker like some kind of nightmare Disney princess. "This is unprecedented," Administrator Quellix bubbled anxiously. "This violates the entire premise of the trial." "Actually," said an insectoid legal expert who'd been summoned specifically for this situation, "reviewing the regulations, there is no rule against befriending indigenous species. The assumption was simply that it would never happen." Threll's claws drummed against the console. "Because it shouldn't happen. Venom stalkers are solitary apex predators. They don't form attachments. They don't cooperate. They certainly don't—" He gestured at the screen where Kevin was systematically dismantling the razorwing swarm. "Protect other species." "Perhaps," Quellix suggested delicately, "we don't know as much about venom stalkers as we thought." Or Threll countered, "Humans are somehow more dangerous than we calculated." Back on Verdathix Prime, Kevin had finished his aerial assault and returned to Marcus's side, mandibles dripping with what was probably venom mixed with razorwing blood. He looked extremely pleased with himself. "Okay, now who's a good nightmare creature?" Marcus scratched behind Kevin's primary eye cluster. "You are. Yes, you are. You're a terrifying abomination and also the best boy." Kevin's legs did a little tap dance thing that Marcus interpreted as happiness. "Right. So, lesson learned. You hate razor wings. Razor wings hate you. And I have the best bodyguard in the galaxy." Marcus pulled out another protein bar. "A victory snack?" Kevin took it delicately with his mandibles, and Marcus was almost certain he was being gentle on purpose now. They continued deeper into the jungle. Marcus had discovered that Kevin was actually an excellent trailblazer. Anything that saw 8 legs of venomous death approaching simply moved aside. The jungle had apparently decided that whatever was happening with the human and the stalker was none of their business. "You know what's funny," Marcus said, because 6 hours alone with only an alien spider-scorpion for company meant conversations with said spider-scorpion. Everyone always asks why humans try to pet dangerous things. They think it's stupidity, but it's actually pattern recognition. We figured out thousands of years ago that making friends with a dangerous thing is way more effective than fighting it. Wolves became dogs. Wild cats became judgmental household companions. Even bears. Okay, bears didn't work out, but we tried. Kevin clicked something that sounded almost conversational. "Exactly, you get it. We're not brave, we're just aggressively social. It's a survival strategy." Marcus checked his scanner. "Speaking of which, we've got a heat signature ahead. Big one, really big one. The scanner is having feelings about it." They emerged into a clearing dominated by a massive nest structure. Rocks and bones arranged in a deliberate pattern that suggested intelligence, territory, and a serious commitment to interior decorating with remains. "Oh," Marcus said, "that's a thornback nest." The scanner agreed. "Threat level catastrophic, Thornback matriarch. 18 meters. Status, extremely territorial." The briefing said thornbacks were, quote, "unkillable apex predators that have ended multiple trials prematurely. So maybe we just back away slowly." Kevin's response was to position himself between Marcus and the nest, legs spread in a defensive posture. "Or we stay? Cool. Love that energy." The ground shook, not metaphorically, literally shook like something massive was moving underneath. Then the thornback matriarch emerged from the nest entrance, and Marcus understood why the rating was catastrophic. She was the size of a small shuttle quadrupedal, covered in interlocking armored plates that looked like they could deflect small arms fire. Her back was a ridge of thorns, each one easily 3 feet long. And her face, well, her face had the kind of expression that said, ooh, she'd killed things for fun and was considering making it 473. She roared. It was the sound of tectonic plates arguing. So Marcus said, not taking his eyes off her, "This is going well?" The thornback took a step forward, Kevin hissed, venom glands flaring. And then Marcus noticed something. The matriarch's movement was stiff, pained, and coiled around one of her back thorns was a parasitic vine, glowing sickly purple, roots clearly dug deep into her armored plating. "Wait," Marcus said. "Kevin, hold." Kevin's mandibles clicked, uncertainty. Marcus slowly raised his hands, universal gesture for, "Please don't murder me." He pointed at the vine. That's hurting you, isn't it?" The thornback's multiple eyes focused on him. Intelligence flickered there, and something else, exhaustion. Contestant 904 has requested emergency extraction. Time survived 6 hours, 12 minutes. Cause gave up. Marcus took a slow step forward. Kevin made a worried, grinding sound, but didn't stop him. "Look, I know I'm a squishy human and you could turn me into a decorative smear, but that vine is toxic. I can see the discoloration spreading. It's going to get worse. And you've got eggs in that nest, don't you? You can't leave them to deal with the pain." The thornback didn't move, didn't charge, just watched. Marcus reached into his pack and pulled out the only tool he'd been allowed, a standard-issue multi-knife. "I can help if you let me, and if you promise not to eat me, which would be appreciated." On the station, Threll stood up from his chair. He is, Quellick said. "That's insane, yes." Marcus approached the thornback matriarch slowly, Kevin keeping pace beside him like the world's most disturbing emotional support animal. The matriarch lowered her massive head, eyes never leaving Marcus, but didn't attack. "Okay," Marcus breathed. "Good girl, very good, massive, terrifying girl." He climbed onto her back, which felt surreal even by today's standards, and began working on the parasitic vine. It had buried itself deep, roots wrapped around the base of the thorn. Removing it required cutting, pulling, and at one point, Marcus definitely got thornback blood on his hands, which probably violated several safety protocols. The matriarch growled, a deep resonant sound. I know, this is uncomfortable, almost got it." With a final pull, the vine came free, roots and all. Marcus threw it aside, and Kevin immediately pounced on it, shredding it with vindictive enthusiasm. The thornback shuddered. Then she turned her massive head and gently bumped Marcus with her snout. "You're welcome," Marcus said, climbing down. "Now, if you could just not kill me, that would make this a really positive interaction." The matriarch rumbled. Then, deliberately, she laid down beside her nest. Not threatening, not aggressive, resting. Marcus sat down nearby, Kevin settling beside him. The thornback watched them both with what might have been gratitude, or might have been, "I'll decide whether to eat you later." "Gonna call you Linda," Marcus announced. "You've got Linda energy." Linda the thornback made a sound like rocks in a tumbler. Marcus pulled out a protein bar, split it 3 ways. One piece for him, one for Kevin, one that he tossed toward Linda. She ate it in one bite, armor and all. "Great," Marcus said. "Now I have 2 nightmare creatures. This is either the best or worst decision I've ever made." Kevin and Linda looked at each other. Some kind of understanding passed between them. Contestant 442 has requested emergency extraction. Time survived 7 hours, 8 minutes. Reason: saw the human's video feed and decided to quit while still sane. Marcus checked his chronometer. 65 hours to go. "This is going to be a long trial," he said. Kevin clicked agreement. Linda rumbled contentment. And somewhere on an orbital station, Commander Threll was filing an incident report that he already knew nobody would believe. Hour 18 brought 2 developments. First, Marcus had successfully started a campfire using local flint and some dried moss, proving that humanity's true superpower was making themselves comfortable anywhere. Second, Linda and Kevin had become best friends, which was simultaneously heartwarming and apocalyptically disturbing. I'm just saying, Marcus explained to his unlikely companions while roasting something that might have been edible, you two have surprising emotional depth for creatures designed by evolution to be murder machines. Kevin was currently grooming one of Linda's back thorns, carefully removing debris with his mandibles. Linda, in turn, was making a sound like a distant thunderstorm, which Marcus had learned was her version of purring. Contestant 116 has requested emergency extraction. Time survived, 17 hours, 30 minutes. Reason, acute paranoia and trust issues. Marcus checked his scanner out of habit. The reading made him pause. 0 threat contacts within 500 meters. Kevin, Linda, I think everything else in this jungle has decided we're a no-go zone. He grinned. We're not survivors. We're the apex predator. On the orbital station, the observation room had become standing room only. What had started as a routine trial monitoring had evolved into the most watched entertainment in 3 sectors. The betting pools had shifted from how quickly will the human die to what will the human domesticate next. Commander Threll stood at the front watching the feed with the expression of someone whose entire worldview was being systematically demolished. Status report, he said flatly. Administrator Quelix consulted the data. 47 contestants have withdrawn, 23 are in hiding, 12 are attempting to survive normally, and 1 is camping with a venom stalker and a thornback matriarch. Yes, I can see that. The Galactic Council has sent 17 inquiries. Tell them I'm busy having an existential crisis. On Verdathix Prime, Marcus was fashioning a scratching post out of a fallen tree trunk. Linda, you've got an itch on your left flank you can't reach. I've seen you trying. This is what we call problem solving through technology. He wedged the trunk between 2 rocks at the perfect angle. Linda approached skeptically, then rubbed against it. Her expression, if reptilian armored behemoths could have expressions, suggested this was the best moment of her life. See? Humans, we're useful. Marcus checked his remaining supplies. Although we are running low on protein bars, and I'm pretty sure that's the only reason you both tolerate me. Kevin made an indignant clicking sound. Okay, fine, you tolerate me for my winning personality and the snacks? A notification pinged on Marcus's monitor badge. He checked it. Formal inquiry from Galactic Council regarding contestant behavior. Status, technically legal but deeply concerning. Oh, good, Marcus muttered. I'm causing diplomatic incidents. He looked at Kevin and Linda. Should I be worried? Kevin clicked. What Marcus had learned was his probably not sound. Linda rumbled agreement. Right, well, we got 54 hours left. What's the worst that could happen? The worst, as it turned out, was that the remaining contestants had filed a formal complaint, not because Marcus was cheating, but because his success was making their struggle look embarrassing by comparison. Threll received the complaint in written form, an official document with 47 signatures. He read it aloud to Quelix. We, the undersigned, formally request that contestant Marcus Webb be disqualified on the grounds that his approach violates the spirit of the Galactic Survival Initiative, which is meant to test individual survival capability, not the ability to commit ecological warfare by befriending apex predators. That's certainly a creative interpretation, Quelix bubbled. They want him disqualified because he's making them look bad. Correct. Threll looked at the legal expert. Can we disqualify him? The insectoid examined the regulations through multiple lenses. No. Rule 17? Subsection 4. Contestants may use any non-prohibited methods to ensure survival. Befriending local fauna is not prohibited. It was simply assumed to be impossible. Everything about this situation was assumed to be impossible, Threll said. Nevertheless, Specialist Webb has violated no rules. He has, in fact, demonstrated remarkable adaptability and problem-solving. One could argue he's the ideal candidate. Threll's claws drummed the console. One could also argue he's a walking disaster who's somehow convinced 2 of the most dangerous creatures on Verdathix Prime that he's their friend. Both things can be true. On the surface, Marcus had discovered that Linda's eggs were close to hatching. She'd allowed him near the nest, which Kevin seemed to find hilarious if mandible clicking could indicate laughter. "So when these hatch," Marcus said, examining the eggs carefully, "are they going to imprint on me? Because I feel like that's how this works, and I'm not prepared to be a parent to baby thornbacks." Linda bumped him gently with her snout. "A clear message. You're helping whether you like it or not." Great, fantastic. My mom always said I needed more responsibility." Kevin settled beside the nest, apparently appointed guardian. Marcus sat nearby, back against Linda's armored side, watching the jungle's bioluminescent glow intensify as evening approached. "You know," he said to his companions, "well, everyone thinks humans are crazy for doing this, befriending dangerous things. But the thing is, you're only dangerous if we're enemies. And why would we be enemies is when we could be this?" He gestured at their unlikely trio. "This is better." Kevin clicked softly. Linda rumbled in what Marcus chose to interpret as agreement. "Contestant 779 has requested emergency extraction. Time survived, 19 hours, 45 minutes. Reason, psychological defeat." After watching humans' video feed, Marcus grinned. 52 hours to go. Think we can make it? Kevin and Linda's synchronized response suggested they weren't worried. Neither was Marcus. Hour 71 arrived with an official transmission that interrupted Marcus's attempt to teach Kevin the concept of high five. The results had been mixed, primarily because Kevin had 8 legs and strong opinions about which one to use. Contestant Marcus Webb, Commander Threll's voice crackled through the comm with the warmth of a tax audit. "You are hereby summoned to formal inquiry. Stand by for transport." Marcus looked at Kevin and Linda. "Did we do something wrong?" Kevin clicked nervously. Linda's growl suggested she was ready to fight bureaucracy itself. "It'll be fine," Marcus said, with the confidence of someone who had no evidence to support that claim. Probably just paperwork. The transport beam deposited him in a council chamber where 47 species representatives sat in a semicircle, all looking at him like he'd personally insulted their ancestors. Commander Threll stood at the center podium, scales reflecting the harsh lighting. "Specialist Webb," Threll began, "the Galactic Council has convened to address irregularities in your trial performance." "Irregularities?" Marcus crossed his arms. "I'm surviving. That's literally the point." Insectoid counselor's antenna twitched aggressively. "You have subverted the trial's fundamental premise by domesticating indigenous apex predators." "I made friends. There's a difference." "You have created an unfair advantage," another counselor added. "This one resembling an agitated fern. Unfair to who? Everyone else had the same opportunity. They just chose violence over conversation." Threll's claws clicked against the podium. "The trial is designed to test individual survival capability. You have essentially recruited bodyguards." "Show me the rule I broke." Marcus stepped forward. "Seriously, pull up the regulations. Point to the line that says I can't befriend the wildlife." The legal expert from earlier projected the relevant documents holographically. Its multiple eyes scanned through hundreds of pages. Silence. "Well," Marcus pressed, "there is no such rule." The expert admitted quietly. The council erupted in multilingual chaos. Arguments bounced between species in a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and what might have been angry interpretive dance. "This is absurd," the Fern counselor shouted. "The spirit of the law—" "The spirit doesn't matter if the letter is clear," Marcus interrupted. "I followed every rule. I brought standard equipment. I didn't call for help. I survived using the resources available. If those resources include convincing a venom stalker that protein bars are better than murdering me, that's not cheating. That's strategy." Threll leaned forward. "You're saying befriending deadly creatures is a legitimate survival strategy. Commander, humans have been doing this for 10,000 years. We befriended wolves and got dogs. We befriended wildcats and got judgmental, fuzzy roommates. We convinced horses to let us ride them. We made cows into an entire agricultural system. This," he gestured broadly, "Adigu is literally humanity's ecological niche. We don't have claws or venom or armor. We have pattern recognition and the apparently galaxy-unique ability to look at something designed to kill us and think, but what if we were friends, though? Administrator Quellix bubbled thoughtfully. He makes a valid point. He makes an insane point, Threll countered. An insane point that violates no regulations, the legal expert added. Marcus pulled out his data pad, calling up statistics. You want to know what the real issue is? 47 contestants withdrew. The ones still down there are hiding, terrified, barely surviving. Meanwhile, I'm at 71 hours with 0 injuries, full supplies, and 2 companions who've kept me safer than any weapon could. By every measurable standard, I've demonstrated superior survival capability. The council fell silent. In fact, Marcus continued, warming to his argument, I'd argue that my approach proves humans understood something the rest of the galaxy missed. Survival isn't about being the strongest predator. It's about making the strongest predator decide you're more valuable alive. Threll stared at him for a long moment. Then, incredibly, his mandibles twitched in what might have been respect. The council will vote, Threll announced. All in favor of disqualification. 7 hands, tentacles, appendages raised. Opposed? 40 raised. Motion fails. Threll's voice was carefully neutral. Specialist Webb is cleared of all charges. The trial will continue to its conclusion. Dismissed. As Marcus headed for the transport pad, Threll called after him. Webb, Marcus turned. For the record, Threll said slowly, you are the most aggravating contestant I have ever monitored. You have caused me administrative nightmares that will take months to resolve, and you have fundamentally challenged my understanding of xenobiology. So, you're saying I impressed you? Threll's scales rippled. I'm saying that when you complete this trial, I will be forced to file a report recommending that trial parameters be updated to account for human social manipulation tactics. You have created a new category of survival strategy, Marcus grinned. I'll take that as a compliment. It wasn't intended as one. I'm taking it anyway. The transport beam activated. As Marcus's form shimmered, Threll added one more thing. Don't get eaten in the next hour, specialist. I'd hate for all this paperwork to be for nothing. Marcus rematerialized on Verdathix Prime to find Kevin and Linda in what could only be described as an anxious parent huddle. Both creatures immediately swarmed him, which was terrifying, but also weirdly touching. I'm fine. Just had to explain to a bunch of bureaucrats why friendship is a valid survival strategy. He scratched Kevin's carapace and patted Linda's armored snout. 1 hour left. Think we can make it without incident? Kevin clicked optimistically. Linda rumbled agreement. Famous last words, Marcus muttered, but he was smiling. The extraction beam activated precisely at hour 72. Marcus materialized on the orbital station's landing pad, with Kevin on a vine leash and Linda taking up approximately half the available space. The welcoming committee took 3 steps back. Said the transportation officer, a nervous amphibian whose throat sac was pulsing at concerning speeds. Sir, you can't bring those. These are Kevin and Linda. They're coming with me. Sir, regulations clearly state I survived 72 hours and can claim any non-sentient resources I acquired during the trial. Kevin and Linda are my resources. We're a package deal now. Commander Threll arrived with Administrator Quellix and what looked like a hastily assembled legal team. He stared at the Venom Stalker and Thornback Matriarch, both of whom were calmly waiting beside Marcus like the galaxy's most dangerous, emotional support animals. You cannot be serious, Threll said. Completely serious. I've already filed the paperwork. They're registered as emotional support animals under Terran Diplomatic Exemption Code 47B. That code is for service animals assisting with medical conditions. I have a medical condition. It's called anxiety. Kevin and Linda help. Marcus scratched behind Kevin's eye cluster. Don't you, buddy? Kevin clicked affirmatively. Linda rumbled what sounded like agreement, but might have been a threat. Hard to tell. The legal expert examined the documentation on a floating pad. The paperwork is technically valid. Terran diplomatic codes do supersede standard quarantine protocols if properly filed. I filed it from the jungle, Marcus said proudly. During the hour 68, while Linda was napping on me, Threll's claws drummed against his armor plating, a stress response Marcus had learned to recognize. This is unprecedented. That seems to be my brand. You're aware that you won the trial. By default, every other contestant withdrew. I heard the announcements, all 47 of them. Marcus grinned. So what you're saying is humanity just dominated the Galactic Survival Initiative on our first attempt. What I'm saying is that you've created a diplomatic nightmare, a xenobiological paradox, and a logistical catastrophe. Threll paused. But yes, congratulations, you survived. Administrator Quelix bubbled forward nervously. There is the matter of the prize. Standard Protocol awards the winner Advanced Survival Training Certification and diplomatic recognition. Great, I'll take it. Also, Kevin and Linda will need accommodations, preferably somewhere with high ceilings and a steady supply of protein bars. We don't have facilities for... Then build them, I'll wait. Marcus sat down on a cargo crate. Kevin and Linda settled protectively around him. Several nearby personnel fled. Threll watched this tableau with the expression of someone whose carefully ordered universe had been invaded by chaos, wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Finally he sighed. Sound like wind through caves. Fine, we'll arrange accommodations, temporary ones, and specialist web? Yeah? I'm adding a new regulation to all future Galactic Survival Initiative trials. Threll pulled up a holographic document and began typing. Rule 412, contestants are expressly prohibited from befriending, domesticating, or otherwise socially manipulating indigenous wildlife. Marcus laughed. Little late for that, Commander. It's for future participants, specifically to prevent any other humans from attempting whatever it is you did. What I did was prove that humans don't survive by being the strongest or fastest. We survive by being aggressively, relentlessly social. We look at the universe's monsters and think friend-shaped. He stood up, Kevin and Linda rising with him. You can write all the rules you want. It won't change what we are. Quelix bubbled something that might have been laughter. The galaxy is going to have very strong opinions about this. The galaxy can get in line, Marcus said cheerfully. Come on, Kevin. Come on, Linda. Let's go find you two something to eat that isn't other contestants. As they walked down the corridor, a human flanked by a venom stalker and a thornback matriarch. Personnel flattened themselves against walls, speechless. Behind them, Threll stood watching. Administrator Quelix floated beside him. This changes everything, Quelix said quietly. If humans can domesticate apex predators this quickly, then we've severely underestimated them, Threll finished. Note to Council, recommend upgrading human threat assessment from minor nuisance to walking ecological takeover. Should we be concerned? Threll watched Marcus teach Kevin to press an elevator button while Linda waited patiently. Concerned? No. Terrified? Possibly, but also, he paused. I've overseen 42 trials. This is the first one where the winner made friends instead of enemies. Perhaps we've been approaching survival wrong all along. That's very philosophical of you, Commander. Don't tell anyone. I have a reputation to maintain. Epilogue. 3 months later, the Galactic Survival Initiative released its official statement. Following unprecedented events during Trial Cycle 847, new regulations have been implemented. Human participants are now prohibited pending further review. This decision is final, and definitely not because we're afraid of what they'll befriend next. Marcus Webb was last seen opening a cross-species training facility on Verdathix Prime, specializing in what he called aggressive friendship protocols. Kevin serves as head of security. Linda runs the childcare program, having successfully raised her clutch of baby thornbacks, who all imprinted on Marcus and now follow him around like the galaxy's most terrifying daycare group. When asked for comment, Marcus simply said, "Told you we'd make friends." Commander Threll declined to comment, but was seen updating his resume with the addendum, experience managing human-caused diplomatic incidents. Extensive therapy recommended. The Galactic Council is still processing the paperwork.